I never used to get scared easily. I mean, sure, working late nights as a DoorDash driver meant dealing with the occasional sketchy neighborhood or weird customer, but nothing I couldn't handle. Most nights, I'd just pick up an order, drop it off, and be on my way. No drama. Until last night. I was about to call it quits when a new order popped up on my screen. A cash delivery. I hated taking cash orders. They were risky and usually meant dealing with someone who didn't trust the app. But it was a $40 payout for a 15-minute drive. Too good to pass up. I tapped accept. The address wasn't in a residential area. No houses, no apartment complexes, just a pin on the map leading to the outskirts of town. That should have been my first red flag, but I was too tired to overthink it. I pulled onto a long, empty road, my headlights cutting through the darkness. My GPS announced, "You have arrived at your destination." I frowned. Where? The only thing in sight was an abandoned auto repair shop. The building was run down, rusted, and looked like it hadn't been used in decades. A single flickering light illuminated the entrance, casting long, jagged shadows across the cracked pavement. I double-checked the address. It matched. There was no house, no apartment, just this empty garage. My stomach tightened. Then, out of the shadows, a man stepped forward. He was thin, wiry, wearing grimy mechanic overalls, and had grease-streaked hands gripping a wrench. His smile felt forced, like he had practiced it in a mirror. "You the DoorDash guy?" he asked. His voice was too calm, too prepared. I forced a nod, holding up the bag. "Yeah, got your order." His smile didn't drop. "Cool, man. My buddy's got the cash inside. Won't take a sec." He turned and gestured toward the garage's open bay door. Something inside me screamed, "No." I suddenly hated how quiet it was here. No passing cars, no streetlights, just the soft hum of insects in the tall grass. I took a step back. "I'd prefer if you just paid me out here." The man's smile didn't falter, but his eyes flicked to something behind me. I whipped around. Nothing. But when I turned back, the garage door was rolling down. He was sealing me in. I lunged for my car, but before I could grab the door handle, I heard gravel crunching behind me. I froze. There was someone else. I turned my head, my pulse hammering. A second man stood 15 feet away, just at the edge of the light's glow. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. My throat tightened. The first man, Marcus, I think, was still smiling, but it had changed. Less friendly, more entertained. "You might as well come inside," he said. My body screamed run. I had two choices, run or play along. Running meant I'd have to get past the second guy, and I wasn't sure if he had a weapon. Playing along gave me more time. So I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Oil, metal, something else. A dim yellow light buzzed overhead, flickering. The walls were lined with rusted tools and car parts, but my eyes were drawn to the center of the room, a large shape covered with a stained tarp. The air felt thick. Marcus walked past me, reaching for something on a nearby table. I took a slow step back. Then from the darkness behind the tarp, I heard it. A metal chain dragging. I spun toward the exit. A truck rumbled in the distance. I ran for my car. Marcus moved fast. Too fast. Something slammed into my shoulder. A wrench? A fist? I wasn't sure. I hit the ground, my phone skidding across the pavement. The second man was still standing at the edge of the light, watching, smiling. I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. The truck stopped abruptly, its headlights flooding the garage entrance. I could barely make out the silhouette of a third man, taller, broader, holding something long in his hands. A crowbar. I dove into my car, slamming the door and fumbling with the keys. Marcus was grinning, his hands twitching at his sides. The second man took a slow step forward. I turned the key. The engine sputtered. No, 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 no. Come on. The truck's driver's side door creaked open. My engine roared to life. I threw it into reverse, my tires screeching against the gravel. Marcus and the second man lunged at my car, but I was already peeling backward. The third man didn't move. He just stood by the truck watching me with dead, patient eyes. I slammed the car into drive and floored it down the road. I didn't stop driving, not for 10 miles, not until I reached a gas station with bright lights and security cameras. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, no missed calls, no texts, just one notification on my screen. DoorDash order canceled. I debated calling 911, but what would I say? That some guys at an old garage freaked me out? That I thought they were planning something I had no proof? I tapped Google Maps, retraced my route. My blood turned to ice. There was no auto repair shop at that location, just an empty lot. I turned off my phone, and I never took another cash order again. I never minded the overnight shifts at Carter's Gas and Convenience. It was quiet, easy money, and most of the time I just listened to music and scrolled on my phone between the occasional customer. But that night was different. That night, I learned what it feels like to be hunted. It wasn't even supposed to be my shift. I'd covered for Tony, who'd called in sick last minute. That left me alone in a tiny roadside gas station, the only place for miles along Highway 41. Outside, the darkness stretched endlessly, broken only by the fluorescent glow of the gas station canopy. Beyond that, nothing but empty road and dense tree lines. I kept an eye on the security cameras, though. The front, the gas pumps, the back alley near the dumpsters. Everything looked clear. For now, the first sound wasn't a knock. It was a bang, a deep, deliberate pounding on the front doors. I glanced up from my phone, expecting a drunk traveler or some trucker needing to use the bathroom. Instead, I saw him. Tall, thin, motionless. A man stood outside, pressed against the glass. His hands at his sides, his head slightly tilted. He wasn't knocking anymore, he was just watching. I tapped the intercom. We're closed inside, but the pumps are open. No response. He just tilted his head further as if he were studying me. Something about his face felt off, like his features weren't quite aligned right, like they didn't match the shape of his skull. I swallowed hard. Sir, do you need help? Nothing. And then, without a word, he stepped backward, slowly, until the darkness swallowed him completely. Watched the security feed for 5 full minutes. Nothing. No car, no movement. Just the empty pumps and the dull hum of the neon sign flickering overhead. Maybe he was a drifter. Maybe he was just messing with me. I exhaled, shaking off the unease, and stepped out from behind the counter to check the front windows. The lot was empty. The highway stretched on forever, a dead, silent void. I turned back toward the counter. Bang! I nearly jumped out of my skin. The back door. Someone was at the back door. My stomach dropped. I checked the security monitor, but the camera feed was frozen. Just static. No. I grabbed the baseball bat we kept behind the register and moved toward the back hallway. The storage area was dimly lit, the buzzing overhead light flickering erratically. The metal door rattled. Someone was trying to get in. I swallowed. We're closed, I shouted, trying to keep my voice steady. Silence. Then, from inside the store, a sound, a soft shuffle, a footstep, but the back door never opened, which meant whoever was in here was already inside. I froze, gripping the bat tighter. A shadow moved past the snack aisle, slow, unrushed. I backed toward the counter, trying to keep my breathing quiet. The cameras were still down. The power flickered. Then, from just behind me, a voice, low, steady. You shouldn't have stayed. I spun. Nothing. Just empty aisles and the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights. I moved, heart hammering, toward the employee exit. The metallic scent of rust filled my nose. I reached for the handle and stopped cold. It was already unlocked. From the outside, I whipped around, expecting him to be right there, but the store was still empty. I edged toward the front doors, scanning every shadow, every shelf. Then I heard it, A slow, metallic dragging sound coming from the back of the store. I clenched the bat. "I'm calling the cops," I lied, my voice cracking. The dragging stopped. For a second, the silence was suffocating. Then, a figure emerged from behind the aisles. Tall, thin, face still tilted slightly, but now, he was closer. Too close. I didn't hesitate, I ran. I yanked the front door open and sprinted into the night, didn't stop, didn't look back. I didn't think, I just ran. The gas station's neon flickered behind me, the light cutting off just as I hit the edge of the highway. For a moment, the road stretched empty in both directions. No cars, no headlights, nothing. Then, from behind me, a whisper. "Don't worry, there's always tomorrow." I don't know how long I ran. By the time I made it to a nearby truck stop, I was shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone to call 911. When the cops arrived, we went back to the gas station together. Power was back. The security cameras were working again, but the footage, it showed me panicking, running out of the store. But the man? There was no man on the tape. Nothing at the front door, nothing at the back, nothing in the aisles. But I know what I saw, and I know what I heard. I quit the next day. I don't drive past that gas station anymore. But sometimes, on nights when I can't sleep, I wonder, if I'd waited just a few more seconds, what would have happened if I hadn't run? Would I have ever left at all? I've worked a lot of temporary jobs across the country, but this one stuck with me. It wasn't the job itself. I'd worked night shifts before. It wasn't even the gas station tucked away on an empty back road far from major highways. It was the man who came in that night, the one who never should have found me. The shift had been quiet. No cars, no customers, just me, some stale coffee, and the occasional creak of the old gas station's refrigeration units. The road outside stretched into darkness, swallowed by thick forest on both sides. This wasn't a truck stop or a travel hub. This was the kind of place locals used to cut across state lines unseen. Then the headlights appeared. A black sedan pulled in, stopping dead center in front of the gas station. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, thin, movements too smooth. He smiled at me through the glass doors before walking inside. I kept my eyes on him as he strolled down the aisles, picking up random items, then putting them back. And he was whistling. Not a normal tune, something off-key, deliberate, like he wanted me to notice. I stood behind the counter, waiting for him to bring something up. But after a few minutes, he just turned and walked out. No purchase, no words. I watched as he climbed back into his car. The headlights stayed on. He didn't leave. He just sat there. I told myself I wasn't going to stare out the window, but my hands wouldn't stop fidgeting. I kept checking the security monitors, grainy black and white footage of an empty gas station lot. Then the headlights shut off. I froze. A few seconds later, the driver's door opened. Same man, same slow, deliberate movements. This time he parked, further away near the edge of the lot, just outside the main lights. I swallowed hard as he walked inside. "Slow night?" he asked, his voice too casual. I nodded. "Yeah. You need something?" He smiled. Too wide. Too long. "Actually, yeah," he said. "My front tire looks low. You got an air pump?" I hesitated. The gas station didn't have a self-service pump, but we did keep a small portable compressor behind the counter for emergencies. I glanced at the clock, 1:13 a.m. I didn't want to go outside, but I also didn't want to say no. I grabbed the air compressor and stepped outside with him. The night air was colder than before, the silence even heavier. His car was still running. I knelt beside the tire, plugging in the compressor hose. That's when I noticed it. His hand was deep inside, his jacket pocket not moving, not adjusting, just resting there.
I glanced up. He was staring at me, expressionless. Something about the way he was standing, his posture, his breathing, was wrong. It was like he was waiting for something. The air compressor beeped, signaling.
The pressure was fine. I unplugged the hose and stood up fast. He didn't step aside. He stayed between me and the door. "Everything good?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. No response. Just silence. My stomach twisted. This is it. Then something changed, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes, and then he smiled, a slow, knowing smile, like I had passed some kind of test. Without a word, he stepped aside, walked back to his car, and drove away, but not far. He pulled to the edge of the lot and just sat there, watching. I locked the doors, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. A dispatcher picked up. I gave them a brief description of the man and his car. Before I could finish, the officer cut me off. "Can you repeat the make and model?" I did. Silence. Then, "Stay inside. Lock the doors. We have units in the area." I hung up. My hands were shaking. Outside, the black sedan's headlights flickered and then vanished down the road. The cops showed up within minutes. They asked if I had security footage. I pulled up the tapes, my stomach still in knots. We rewound to 12:45 a.m. The black sedan pulled in. The man got out. He walked into the store, browsed the aisles. Then, something wasn't right. The footage froze. No, not froze. Jumped. Skipped 4 minutes ahead. Like part of the recording was missing. The officer frowned. "You didn't touch the system?" I shook my head. Then we fast-forwarded to his second visit. This time, the footage didn't show him coming inside. It just jumped to me standing by the tire, kneeling. The moment his hand was in his jacket, like something or someone had altered the footage. The officers exchanged glances. One of them grabbed his radio. They never told me what he'd done, just that they were already looking for him before I called. I tried searching for local crime reports, missing persons, anything, but I found nothing. No record of his car, no recent crimes in the area, just a dead end. I left town the next day, but before I did, I checked my truck camper. The locks were fine. Nothing was stolen. But under the driver's seat, my spare keys were missing. Some people aren't looking to rob you. They're looking for something else, and sometimes they find it.